Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a new Juju live session this time around about one of the things that I've observed dancers in the field of Egyptian dance struggle with the most, and that's arms and hands. How they handle arms and hands, how they use them, how their dance is harmed, limited, or expanded by the correct use of arms and hands. Once again, I am going to invite you to share your questions and your experience. Let me know in the comments to this video if you feel arms and hands is a pain point in your dance, if it's a concern, if it's something that you have solved, if it's something you are comfortable with or not, and feel welcome to share your questions on the subject as well. From my side, I'm going to read from the questions I have selected. These are questions that I receive again and again and again. Lately, especially since I opened Joana Saahirah's online dance school, I watch homework assignments practically every day from dancers of different levels, different experiences, different everything. And I can assure you that in 99% of the time, arms and hands is one of the points I correct. That just confirms the difficulty I have observed when I was traveling nonstop, teaching in festivals, observing dancers, watching them in workshops, watching them perform, watching them in competition. This is like one of those silent enemies that keeps coming back again and again and again. So it is incredibly important. I hope that at the end of this Juju live session, you will understand why it is so important. And hopefully you will have received an answer or a light, a guiding light over the doubts that you may have, okay? I'm gonna keep sipping my tea because it's raining a lot. I don't know, I don't think you can see it, but it's raining a lot and it starts to feel like autumn and it's very cozy and I can only deal with it with a hot cup of tea. So forgive me if every once in a while you're gonna see this big cup of tea on the screen, okay? So say hi if you are around. The protocol first. My name is Joana Saahirah, for the ones who don't know me yet. I'm a world-renowned Oriental dancer, teacher, and author. I'm also the creator of the pioneering Joana Saahirah's World and Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School, delivering authentic Egyptian dance, personal discovery, and empowerment. For the ones who are not a part of our community yet and are interested in receiving our news, our offers, our gifts and inspirations I only share inside my community, feel welcome to subscribe to our free and fabulous newsletter, Joana Saahirah's World newsletter. And when you do, you get instant access to our inside communications, and you also get access to a free ebook and other goodies you are gonna love. Once I finish this session, I'm gonna share the link for you to subscribe if you wanna join us. Feel welcome to do so, okay? So first things first, let me see who's around. Hi, Jamila. Hi, Tamara. Hi, guys. Hi, Mohammed. Salamu alaikum. Hiss, hiss. Yes, salamu alaikum. Hiss. I hope you are okay. I hope you are all doing great. Jamila, Tamara, share your feedback. Let me know what has been your experience with this very particular part of Egyptian dance technique. Hi, Celeste. Good morning, my dear. Celeste is also one of our students at our school. I love having you here. Thank you for dropping by. And once again, do share, okay? The more you share, the more I can help, the more I can guide, the more I can offer what I know, okay? I will never answer a question I don't know the answer to, but if I can help, I will, all right? So keep the questions coming, and while you do, I'm gonna start reading the first questions that I have selected. And the first one is, why are arms and hands such a stubborn difficulty for most dancers? I chose to answer this question before anything else because I believe it's a question in the mind of many dancers, right? One is why they are important, why arms and hands are so important in your dance practice, especially if you are a performer, but not only if you are a performer. And then why are they such a stubborn difficulty? And I love the use of the word stubborn. Why? Because, and let me know if this is your experience, this is one of those things that dancers develop, they study, they practice, and it still keeps showing up as a problem. So at some point they wonder, what am I doing wrong? Right? I mean, I've practiced this, I've learned the postures, I've learned the transitions, I've learned the frames, I've memorized everything that my teachers have given me in regards to arms and hands technique. Why is this still a point that is not working? What am I doing wrong? What is missing here, right? So it's very stubborn and it's very resistant to the training that most dancers have, okay? But we're gonna get there in a second. So why is this so stubborn? Why it keeps showing up again and again and again? From my experience, there are a few reasons for this to happen, okay? The first one being the most obvious, but one that most of us don't know about, are not aware of, and that is the lack of a proper training. I know we don't like to hear this because we put a lot of effort and time in studying with teachers that we respect, teachers that perhaps even give their best. Okay, I'm not saying they're bad teachers. I'm just saying that the method they use is not working. Okay, it's not working. It's not addressing the way arms and hands are supposed to be used in Egyptian dance. And why is this? First of all, lack of knowledge. Second, lack of understanding of the purpose of arms and hands. Most teachers that I know, okay, including the teachers I have studied with, and mind you that I love my teachers and I've studied with real icons, okay? I've studied with teachers that I really love and respect. So I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they use the method that doesn't really work, okay? And that method is they will show you a pose, they will show you an arm movement or an arm posture, and you replicate, you copy them, you follow them, you memorize that pose. So you go from pose to pose, memorizing each of those poses. Let me know in the comments if this is your experience or not. It was my experience. Okay, so at a certain point, I had to re-educate myself. I had to teach myself alone how to use my arms and hands, because what my teachers were giving me, mostly Egyptian teachers, were a bunch of beautiful poses and postures that I was supposed to memorize. But that was not giving me the results that I wanted. And that is particularly true if you are a performer and if you watch yourself frequently, which I did, I still do, okay? So especially when I was in Egypt, I was performing every night. That meant I had loads of chances, loads of opportunities to watch myself. I asked my assistant to record me. I asked other people to get me on video so that I could watch and I could see what was working, what wasn't working, what I liked, what I disliked. And I noticed that arms and hands were a pain point for me, as much as they were a pain point for most dancers that I knew. And I noticed that the memorization of postures was not working. It just didn't work because the arms did not flow. They looked and felt very mechanical. Sometimes I did not know what to do with them, so they would hang there in an awkward pose. And it was just not working for me. So I had to educate myself. I had to do what I've done in so many occasions, which is ask myself, how can I teach myself to do this? Considering that my teachers are not giving me this material in a way that is actually working for me. So I had to self-teach myself, right? So a lack of education or a method that is not working is certainly one of the reasons why dancers keep on bumping into this problem. Another problem is a lack of practice, a lack of repetition. And I observed this in my students, for instance, at Joana Saahirah's online dance school. I observed this in my private coaching, where people are supposed to invest a lot in their dance. Otherwise, why invest in a private coaching program with me, right? But still, what I see is that There is a confusion between knowing how to do it and automatizing it, getting it into your muscle memory. And these are very different things. I can know how to do a specific movement, but if I have not repeated it correctly enough times, it will not be second nature to me. I will always have to think about it. And when I think about it, I'm creating a block in my dance. I'm not able to move other parts of my body with fluidity. I'm not able to connect to the music. I'm not able to express emotions. I'm not able to be playful, to be creative. Having to think about it is a pain in the neck. And it's something that happens every time that specific movement or posture is not in your muscle memory. It's not automatic in your system. So for me, these are the two biggest problems. There is also something related with the method that is used to teach arms and hands, which leaves the purpose of arms and hands behind. Dancers are not taught why they use arms and hands and for what. What are the functions of arms and hands? Have you been taught what are the functions of arms and hands? Chances are you were not. And when you don't know why you do something, chances are you're going to get lost at it somehow. You will not use that element of your dance with conviction, in the right moment, in the right way. So knowing why I'm doing this helps me to know how to do it and when. Okay? So these are for me the biggest reasons why this problem keeps showing up again and again and again. Let me check what you are sharing. Hi, Irit. Irit or Irit? I think Irit. Arms to me express a feeling, not a particular pose. Beautiful, absolutely. So let me grab what Irit is sharing with us. She's saying something that I really love. Arms to me are supposed to express a feeling, not a particular pose. Absolutely. So expressing emotion or feeling, as Irit mentions, is one of the purposes of arms and hands. Nonetheless, students are not taught this. They are taught to memorize poses and postures, okay? So of course, obviously, arms and hands are what I call communication enhancers. And that includes communicating emotion, okay? Emotion is not the only thing you communicate. You can communicate a thought, you can communicate an idea, you can communicate a sensation, you can communicate a specific moment, a specific memory, and you can communicate emotion, of course, because Egyptian dance is an emotional language. But that's one of the purposes of arms and hands. It's not the only one, but it's one of them that dancers are not taught about. So they memorize the poses without knowing why they're gonna use those poses, or when, or how, for what. So this is exactly in the line of what I was telling you guys, is that if you're not properly taught, chances are you are going to bump into this problem stubbornly again and again and again. And you're going to ask, what's wrong with me? I've learned this, right? I've learned what my teachers taught me. Why is this coming back as a problem, right? Let me see what else you are sharing, guys. Let me see. Jamila, where are you? I feel like my training in ballet and flamenco really helps in my arms and hands. Absolutely, Jamila. I agree with you, and I totally understand. Although flamenco and classical ballet are the opposite of Egyptian dance in many ways, especially classical ballet, it does help if you have a classical ballet training, and also flamenco, which has, by the way, similar arms and hands to Egyptian dance. It's similar, it's not so different. But I would say that classical ballet, more than anything else, will help when someone dives into Egyptian dance and wants to have polished, beautiful arms. It helps a lot. Okay, so I would say that classical ballet works against you and it works with you sometimes. You know, classical ballet is against nature in the sense that it is against gravity. Classical ballet, it's very tense, very controlled. Classical ballet, it's about doing impossible things with your body, anti-nature things with your body. In other words, very much the opposite of what Egyptian dance is about, but it has its perks. Arms and hands being one of them. I totally agree with you, and that's my experience as well. I've studied classical ballet from 5 when I started. I was 5 years old, 4, 5, and I've studied flamenco as well and grew up with it, and it certainly helped me have a strong dominion of arms and hands. That's for sure. It does help. When I watch performances, I can tell within the first few seconds the dancer's level or experience due to their arm and hand movements. Absolutely, Jamila. I love what you are sharing, and I agree with that. And when I'm training dancers and I feel they are a little bit doubtful why this is important, they say, Joana, why are you making this like a big deal? And I tell them exactly that. You can tell a level of the dancer who is dancing from two specific things. Arms and hands being one of them. You know exactly where they stand as dancers and dance expertise. And the other thing is their face. Two things that dancers usually don't think about. Can you imagine that? The two things dancers usually don't think about, their face expression, the eyes, the micro expressions, and their arms and hands, they are two standard evaluators. You can tell how talented, how well trained, how educated, how prepared that dancer is through these two details, their face and their arms and their hands. Although most of us believe these two things are not that important. And although when you see people practicing Egyptian dance, they don't care much about their face, which is a reflection of how you feel, and they don't care much about their hands and arms. This is why they hang there, in a bunny position. I say we go into a bunny position, like that. Yes, absolutely, Jamila. It says also arms can showcase body movements. Absolutely, absolutely. That's another function, another purpose of arms and hands. They frame our body, but they also frame our energy. I'm not going to go so deep into it right now, but framing as well as communicators or communication enhancers, those are two purposes of arms and hands in Egyptian dance. And once again, the more awareness you have of those purposes, the better you can use arms and hands. Now, second question. What are the most frequent mistakes dancers do in regards to arms and hands in Egyptian dance? I have recorded a video, which is available in my YouTube channel, answering this question. So what I'm going to do is when I close this live session, I'm going to share in the comments to the video, I'm going to share the link to this video, the biggest mistakes dancers do in relation to arms and hands in Egyptian dance. And if you're watching the replay of this Juju live session in my YouTube channel, then I'm going to share the link in the comments and also in the description box below the video. But there are two things that I can share with you for now, okay? Or two big mistakes. One is the most obvious, but also something that being so obvious, we tend to ignore. Sometimes the obvious is so on our face, we ignore it. It's crazy. So the first big mistake dancers do in terms of arms and hands in Egyptian dance practice is a total lack of focus on them. They just focus on the entire body, and the arms and the hands hang around. They just hang there somewhere, and they don't give it the proper attention. They presume it's not that important. So they focus on what I call the tube. That's the main body, right? The hips, the legs, the feet, the torso, the chest, the shoulders, perhaps the head, but they dismiss arms and hands as if they were not a part of your dance, as if they were not a part of your body. I know this sounds crazy, but it happens. And if you think about it, I'm pretty sure that you will remember a time, even if it's not a present time, when you did this. You were focusing on your hips. You were so excited with that shimmy or that movement, or that chest drop or whatever, and you totally forgot your arms. You don't even notice them. You don't even know they're there. Okay, so this is a big mistake. Another big mistake is coming from that deficient teaching method that trains dancers to be memorizers instead of dancers to be creators and to be creatures that learn a language and create with that language. So what happens is that dancers use arms and hands in a very mechanical way. So you can actually see pose number 1, pose number 2, movement number 3, movement number 4. They go dry like a machine, like a robot, from one posture to the other. And instead of using arms and hands in an organic, fluid way, just like I'm using my arms and my hands talking with you right now, if you notice, I'm always using my arms and hands. In dance, it's the same. Okay, we use arms and hands, hopefully, in an organic manner. But what happens is when you're trained like a robot, I memorize posture number 1, I memorize posture number 2, I memorize, and then I don't know why I'm doing this, why I'm using these postures. I tend to move like a robot. I reproduce those postures and movements that I've memorized, not knowing why I'm using them, for what, in a dry, mechanic, robotic manner. So these for me are like at the top of the mistakes that dancers do. Okay, it's very frequent and it's painful because it ruins, it destroys the picture. I often describe this to dancers like creating a very ugly frame for a gorgeous masterpiece. Imagine that you're a masterpiece. Okay, you are a painting. You are a Picasso. Okay, you are Picasso. Not Picasso the painter, Picasso the painting that he created. Okay, a beautiful painting. And you put an ugly, broken frame on that painting. It's gonna ruin the painting. It's gonna call the attention to the ugly frame and dismiss the beautiful painting that is happening between that frame. So it really doesn't work. Aside from that, when you don't know how to use arms and hands, you move more tense, more aggressive, in a state of struggle, because arms and hands are also what I call coadjuvants of movement. They help you, when properly used, they help you move. They help you do whatever you are doing with the rest of the body, if they are engaged in a correct manner. So if they are not, you are not using that help. You are not using that collaborator. So instead of using arms and hands as coadjuvants, as collaborators of movement, you see them like a nuisance, a problem. Okay, I know what I'm doing with the rest of my body, but now what do I do with my hands? What do I do with my arms? And actually, this is a very frequent question in workshops and courses. Joana, what do I do with my arms? It's very frequent. And I know why it pops. It's natural. I understand where it comes from. I just want you to notice that it is, although it is a natural, it's a common question, it's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to make sense. So let me see once again where you're up to, and let me take a sip at my tea. Jamila says the concept of resistance is one of the first things I teach my students. Use of muscles which are antagonistic to each, which gives strength and definition to arm movements. Also, let me read the rest. Also, that movements should come from your soul or chakra or heart, or however one feels their dance. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, Jamila, there are many methods, different methods to teach Egyptian dance, okay? And there are also teachers who have no method at all. Also, that exists. You have, in most cases, you have a teacher dumping a choreography on the student's lap. And if you're very lucky, that teacher will break the choreography down in the sense that the teacher will show you step by step. That's how far they will go in 99% of the cases, okay? That's how pedagogic they can be. In my understanding of Egyptian dance, that is not teaching. Teaching is something else. There must be a method, there must be a pedagogic sense to allow dancers from different nationalities, different backgrounds, different ages, different body types, different heads, different hearts, to learn Egyptian dance to the best of their ability and to enjoy Egyptian dance in their own way, but in a correct way. So the way I see it, Egyptian dance is a language. Now you need a method to teach it properly. Otherwise, people memorize movements and choreographies and they feel I'm dancing. I'm a dancer, but they're not. Because memorizing a choreography is not the same as being a dancer or learning how to dance, okay? So the method that we use to teach dance, I believe it depends on your background, your education, your intelligence, your talent as a teacher, your ability to observe people, to observe where they struggle, your experience, if you are an experienced dancer and if you've been through certain problems and you were able to surpass them, then you are in good condition to help others surpass the same problems. It has to do with so many factors, right? What makes a great teacher and what makes a great method for teaching Egyptian dance? That's an interesting conversation, actually. So what I advise teachers to do and dancers to do is to get someone who can teach them the correct technique, the correct structure, and then teach them other aspects of Egyptian dance that are perhaps less familiar to most teachers. The mentality, the culture, the history, the sensibility. As a teacher, you have to find the words and the means to communicate what is often not said. This is why you have incredible, iconic Egyptian teachers like Soher Zaki, like Nago Fouad, who were not great teachers. They could not teach. They would dance and show you, and you would follow them. That's it. I'm not removing their value. I studied with those dancers and they changed the way I see dance, but I cannot call them teachers because that's not teaching, right? So it's important to find someone who knows the craft very well, knows the dance very well, but also knows how to communicate that dance, how to teach that dance, and the several aspects that compose the dance, okay? Now, third question, what can we do in order to have sharp, polished, and emotional arms and hands? What can you do? This is the million-dollar question, right? What can you do? So first of all, I will invite you to join the courses we have already available at Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. We have 2 courses on arms and hands that are always available. And we have a new training that is going to go away. It's not going to be always available. And it's a training on arms and hands polishing in Egyptian dance. It's going to address this specific problem. Even for dancers who have been doing this for a long time, even for dancers who have learned arms and hands. This is about really solving the problem of why this is still not working. Why have I studied arms and hands technique and I still struggle with this point in my dance? So what I'm going to do is at the end of this live session, I'm going to share the links to those courses who are evergreen, always available at the school, as well as the new training that is going to come and go away soon, okay? The arms and hands polishing training. I'm gonna share the links for more information on those trainings or courses, either in the comments to this post or in the description box below the video if you're watching this at my YouTube channel. Now, having said that, there are a few things that you can do. First of all, understand that arms and hands are not supposed to be mechanic and robotic. They're supposed to be used the way I'm using them talking with you. You see, this is all working together. And when I communicate with you and I talk with you, my arms and my hands are at the service of my communication. This is exactly the same with your dance, okay? They are not movements you're supposed to memorize and replicate. They are tools for self-expression. They are tools for many things that serve Egyptian dance technique, but above all, they are tools that help you communicate better, that help you bring out whatever you need to bring out when you're dancing. And if you are a performer, they are tools that help you reach your audience. As I usually call them, they are bridges. Imagine that arms and hands are a bridge between me and you, okay? If you are audience and I am a dancer, these guys are gonna help me reach you. They're gonna help the not only the movement, but the energy to circulate from the dancer, which is the starting point, to the audience, and then back to the dancer, because this is a closed circle. This is why the more you give when you're dancing, the more you receive, because you give to your audience, and then it works like a boomerang. It's a closed circle. I give them and I receive from them in a closed circle, okay? So if you want sharper, more polished arms and hands, study with someone who knows how to teach them. And then realize these are communication tools. They are not dry, robotic movements you memorize, okay, and replicate. This is super important. Last but not least for now, if you want more polished and structured and beautiful arms and hands, you have to work. And I know that dancers don't like this. Every time I speak about discipline or practice or consistent work, dancers go like, wah, 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 wah. Oh my God, that's not cool. That's not trendy. That's not exciting. And I have to be honest with you, it is and it's not. If you love to dance, you will not mind repeating the same movement again and again. If you love to dance, you will want to polish that movement. And if that means repeating that movement hundreds of times, so be it. That is, if you love to dance. If you don't love, it's boring, okay? I'm gonna tell you a story. When I was around 10, 11 years old, my mom decided me and my sister needed to play some sports. So we had been studying classical ballet and other dance styles for a long time since we were little. And my mom thought, I don't remember why, I don't know why, okay, dance is not enough, they need some sport. So we went and tried swimming, okay? So we paid a subscription, me and my sister, and we went to swimming lessons. We learned the different techniques of swimming. My sister loved it. So she became very good at it. I thought it was so boring because I was repeating the same thing again and again and again and again. I fell asleep at the swimming pool, which was not something good. And every time I had to go for a swimming lesson, I thought, oh my God, let me die. Really, this is so boring. Because I did not love swimming as much as my sister. Result, the repetition was pleasurable to her. It was not pleasurable to me. I did not love it enough, so I did not want to do it. And I quit. I said, this is not for me. No. And I started doing other stuff, okay? And she continued. My sister still goes to the swimming pool and she still repeats the same old boring movements. She loves it. It's the same thing with dance. There is a side of dance when you take it a little bit more seriously and when you want to do it nice, even if you are not a professional, okay? I'm not speaking about being a professional. When you learn a dance style, you want to do it right. You want to go deep into it. I've studied different dance styles that I've never worked with, right? I've studied flamenco. I was never a professional flamenco dancer. I've studied classical ballet, modern dance. I've studied Bharatanatyam, Indian classical dance. Have you ever seen me doing Bharatanatyam in public? You haven't. But I've studied it. So, and I've studied it seriously and passionately. And if I had the time, I would go deep into those dance styles that I absolutely love. It doesn't mean I want to work on these styles. It just means that when I put myself into something, I want to learn it correctly and I want to grow with it. So it happens the same exactly with Egyptian dance. If you want to go deep into it, if you want to grow with it, there is a level or a specific time in your learning process when you will have to repeat. The fun, the initial fun of the novelty will not fade away. Okay, I'm not saying it will fade away, but you will face a different experience in your learning process, which is repetition. Repetition. When I was learning Egyptian dance, first learning Egyptian dance before I moved to Egypt, before I started my career in Egypt, before I traveled to Egypt for the first time, I remember that after each class I was having, at the time I was studying with Shokri Mohammed in Madrid, I ran home. And I practiced for at least 2 hours by myself in front of a little mirror that I had in my studio. My roommate, a colleague that was studying with me in the Conservatoire of Acting, he used to tell me, Joana, what are you doing? You spend hours in front of that mirror repeating the same movements. Aren't you sick of it? Aren't you bored? And I said, no, I'm learning. I'm bringing this vocabulary into my system. So if you love it enough, and I do know there are so many of you who love Egyptian dance. I know because I've crossed paths with you. So many of you are in my school. Some of you have studied with me privately or around the world in festivals. And I know how much passion there is out there for this dance. I know. Chances are you will have to come to terms that a part of your development has to do with repetition, practice, and hard work. It's not trendy. It's not so much fun, but it is the reality. So if you want more polished and better arms and hands, you need to have the correct technique, the correct knowledge about why I'm using this and when and how and where. But you also need the discipline to practice consistently. Okay? Last but not least, let me see what I have here. And let me grab another sip of my tea. Cheers, guys, especially to the ones who have joined me live. I'm not letting anyone out, but if you join me live, you're particularly cool. Hi, Jihan. Hi, Jihan. Jihan is saying, I'm taking these 2 courses on arms and hands in your school for the second time right now and gained new insight which went over my head the first time around. It's so important to review these courses periodically. Absolutely, Jihan. This is why I have made them available at all times. As you all know, at our school, at Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School, there is always a lot going on, okay? I'm a passionate hard worker, and I know that my community is also very passionate about Egyptian dance. So we always have many, many courses and workshops and events going on. But there are some that I choose to be always available at the school. And I choose them because I know they are staple. They are the ones dancers will need to go to and redo periodically. And that's the reason why those 2 courses of arms and hands in Egyptian dance are available at all times at our school. Nonetheless, the new training on polishing arms and hands in Egyptian dance will not be available all the time. So you grab it and you do it right now, or you miss it, okay? And then the only chance to learn it from me is in my private coaching or in a festival around the world if I accept to teach in that festival. So mind you, this is a take it or leave it offer, okay? Last question that I have selected for you. How do I know if I'm doing it right? How do I know if my arms and hands are properly executed? Okay, I also love this question. Why? Because sometimes, I would say most times, dancers don't realize they're not doing it right. They don't even notice. And they don't notice for 2 reasons. They are hyper-focused on the rest of the body, especially hips and chest, okay? And they are not aware of how hands and arms should look and feel like. They don't know what is the result that I'm searching for. Because as far as I can see, I'm moving my arms and my hands. They're moving. What am I doing wrong? What do you mean? I have had, in the context of private coaching, for instance, dancers asking me, Joana, but can you tell me exactly what I'm doing wrong? Because I don't understand it. And of course, in a private coaching setting or context, I go deeply into explanation and correction because it is a private coaching format. When I'm working with groups, we usually don't have the chance to go one by one, person by person, correcting exactly what that person is doing or not doing. But one thing is for sure. When you study arms and hands correctly, you understand what you are supposed to see, what is supposed to happen, what is supposed to feel like when you're dealing with arms and hands. And when you know what you are looking for, you know when you're not doing it. The problem is not knowing what you are looking for. What should I be looking at? If you don't know, if the only criteria you have is I should be using my arms, they should be moving along, if that's the only criteria that you have, of course you're not going to identify when you're doing it wrong. Because as far as you can see, your arms and your hands are moving. They are moving along. They're fine. So study with the right person. I'm not meaning necessarily me. There are other great teachers who I am sure will teach you this technique correctly. I just mean study with a teacher who can teach, as opposed to studying with a teacher who will make you memorize a choreography and say, Ma salama, bye-bye, good luck. Okay? And then, hopefully, through that teacher, understand what is it that we want to see. And in my understanding, in my experience, what we want to see is a well-structured, powerful, assertive, confident, purposeful use of arms and hands. I'm going to use an image to tell you exactly what I mean. Hopefully the image will work. Let me see. Let me know if it works. It's like having someone trying to tell you a story. And they either tell it efficiently, they either make you feel the story or they don't. Usually, a proper use of arms and hands has to do with storytelling. I have to be able to use my arms and my hands to tell the story of the music. That applies to instrumental music and it applies to music with lyrics. In the end of the day, arms and hands, being a feature of intermediate advanced level in Egyptian dance, they are storytellers. So if I'm able to tell a story, if I'm able to feel and to make you feel something, chances are the arms and the hands are working properly. Now, how do we get them to work properly? That's what you come to learn from a teacher. It doesn't come from the sky, and it's not, I promise you, in any free video on YouTube. Because there is also this problem. Dancers search for free classes, and I love that, right? I make a lot of free, great content available to my community, but I will not fool you. It's not the same as studying with me in a course or in a private coaching program. It's not. You're not going to have the method, the structure, the accountability, the details, the real instruction. You're going to get inspired. You are going to get informed, but it's not the same as studying with a teacher, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, once again, I'm gonna share the links to our available courses about arms and hands in Egyptian dance, including the new training, Arms and Hands Polishing in Egyptian Dance, available for a short time. I'm gonna share them either in the comments to this video or in the description box below the video, as I mentioned, as well as the link to our newsletter if you are not a part of it yet. And I am also going to invite you to check the videos I have available for free in my YouTube channel. And I have several, okay? So all you gotta do is go to YouTube, search for Joana Saahirah's channel, and search for Arms and Hands in Egyptian Dance. You're gonna find a free class or classes. You're gonna find videos to help you understand the purposes of arms and hands, a video about the most frequent mistakes in arms and hands. You're going to find a lot of incredible material for free, okay, in Joana Saahirah's YouTube channel. And here on Facebook, I'm going to share the link to my YouTube channel also in the comments so that you can go there and you can enjoy the free goodies. Does that sound good? I hope it does. Let me just say goodbye to you, see if there is a final question or comment you would like to share. Thank you for being here. By the way, thank you guys for being here live with me. It makes it so much more juicy. I love having you here. It's almost like having you in the same room physically. Jamila says, do you feel that being able to understand the Arabic lyrics will facilitate expressive use of arms and hands? Unfortunately or fortunately, my answer is a big fat yes. This is a polemic subject, right? I have mentioned it in other occasions, right? The question of the dominion of Arabic language. I mean, if you understand what the lyrics are saying, will give you an advantage in relation to dancers who don't understand Arabic. That is true for the use of arms and hands, and that is true for many other aspects of the dance. If you understand what the story is saying, you have your storytelling work so much easier. Okay. Also, if you understand what the lyrics are saying, those arms and those hands that are supposed to communicate something, they flow with more conviction, they flow with more meaning, they flow from the inside out, because the story is coming from the inside out, word by word. So it makes a huge difference. Now, having said that, I know that most Oriental dancers don't speak Arabic. And I wouldn't dream of telling my students, guys, if you want to dance well, you have to learn Arabic, because that's not realistic. I will advise you to do so if you have the time, if you have the resources. But I do not think that everybody must do this, or I don't think that advising dancers to do that, otherwise you will not dance well, is wise. I would never say that. Okay. Also, let me remind you that understanding Arabic will not make you a good dancer. It will not make you talented. It will not make you more creative. It will give you a deeper understanding of the music, and it will give you an instant reaction to the story. And that is an advantage. But it will not give you talent. It will not give you a skill. It will not make you more knowledgeable or with a better technique or more playful or more sensual or more interesting. Okay? I have seen many dancers who speak Arabic who are terrible dancers, Egyptians and foreigners, terrible dancers. The fact that they know Arabic does not make them a great dancer, but it gives them an advantage in terms of storytelling for obvious reasons. And that also includes the way they use arms and hands, of course, because then they are telling the story with an instant understanding of the story. They feel each word. So the arms flow from that deep, instant understanding of the story. It's very different from someone who doesn't know what is happening in terms of storyline, or someone who has a rough idea of what is happening. Okay. So if you can study Arabic, that's great. That's great. And I would tell you, go for it, because amongst other things, it's a beautiful language. For me, it's the most beautiful language in the world. I'm sorry, guys, don't get offended. Okay. It's just my personal taste. I grew up with Portuguese and Spanish, and I learned other languages as I developed. I learned English, I learned French and Italian, and I know Latin, and I have this easy way around languages. But the Arabic language is the most beautiful to me. It's a personal taste thing. So even if you study it just for education, just for the pleasure, for the bliss, Yani, is there something more beautiful than Arabic? Something more beautiful to your ears? I don't know. If there is something, a language more beautiful than Arabic, let me know what that is. I think it's so gorgeous. So if you can study Arabic, I would say, for so many reasons, do it. But if you can't, or you don't want, just know that you are a little bit in a disadvantage point, okay? The second best solution is to have someone who speaks Arabic translating the lyrics to you word by word, and then having to memorize the meaning of those lyrics. Okay. It's not the same as speaking the language, but it's quite close, right? So now it is our official goodbye. Let me know, what is your favorite language? Now I became curious. Mine is Arabic, hands down. What is your favorite language? What is the language you love the most? Just out of curiosity, guys. Thanks so much. Now that I have had my Joana fix, I can enjoy the rest of my day. Jamila, I love you. I really wish I could meet you in person and hug you and kiss you. You are amazing. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all the genuine love I always receive from you. It is so precious, and it's one of the best things of having a school and having constant contact with so many dancers on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis. I love French, says Jamila. Okay, yes, French is quite beautiful as well. Tamara says the language of love. You mean Arabic? Arabic is the language of love? I think it is. The language of love, the language of poetry, the language of music it's a very, very musical language. You know, what I love about Arabic is above all how it sounds, right? Even when you say hi to someone, يعني salamu alaikum, ازيك يا حبيبتي, ازيك يا روحي. It's so beautiful. It sounds good to my ear. Okay, a big kiss, guys. Thank you one last time for being here with me. Feel welcome to share your questions when you check the replay of this Juju live session, because I always check the questions. Sometimes I cannot answer them on the spot, but I do my best to answer them somehow at some point. So even if you're watching this video in the replay format, in my Facebook account or in my YouTube channel, don't forget to drop your questions. It is food for the soul for me. I really appreciate, and I try to help as much as I can, according to what I know, everyone who shares their difficulties with me. I love you, and I will see you soon. I hope to dance with you at our new training, Arms and Hands Polishing Egyptian Dance. In Egyptian dance, I ate a little bit of the word. Available at Joana Saahirah's online dance school. All the information about that training and our other courses in the links that I am going to share in the comments and in the description box below the video if you're watching it in my YouTube channel. I love you, and I will see you very, very soon. Until then, my warmest, most passionate kiss, using my hands and arms, of course. Mwah. Bye bye.